Hello and welcome to this video series from Hoordoo Scenics. My name is Victor and this is the final part of the series on how to build this Goblin cave for RPG. We're covering how to add water and details in this final part. Many folks like working with resin, but this is my least favorite part. This is where we pour resin in. I'm always worried that something will leak and it will ruin my entire work so far. I had a little leak. It's not recorded on video. I've noticed it after I stopped recording, but it didn't do too much damage and I was able to quickly fix it. Make sure you seal all the edges really well. Use hot glue guns, use glue, use things that are waterproof, and try to do it in a way that doesn't let resin go through. After mixing the two parts required to make resin, I'm also putting a few drops of Vallejo paint. Water that's fully transparent and clear doesn't look very realistic, but if it's a bit green or blue, it looks much better. A blowtorch helps with getting rid of all those bubbles that are forming the resin. 24 hours after the resin was poured, it is safe to remove the painter's tape that was holding it in place and do any final adjustments. At this point, there's no risk of any more leaks, and we are ready to build the next part of the waterfall. Instead of painter's tape, I should have used some plastic because the resin, because of its weight, pushed out the plaster, the painter's tape, and the edges of the water are not really straight, they are a bit curved. I've tried to fix them with a Dremel, but I don't think the results were that good. Once the water is set and the soil is placed, we can put grass. So we're going to cover that soil with grass. Remember, when applying glue, try to go in patches. Don't cover the entire area because grass in the real world doesn't cover everything. Usually there are patches without grass where you can see the soil. So that's exactly what we're trying to do. we're gonna apply grass on top and on the right side of the diorama. Be careful not to get glue on the resin because grass will stick to that. And if you have grass applicator, it kind of helps. I'm using here one from Hoordoo Scenics that I don't know if I would recommend. It has quite a lot of flaws, but it's probably better than nothing. To keep the grass in place, I'm doing the same technique that I've done for soil. Apply some rubbing alcohol and then a solution of water and glue mixed together. I'm using a droplet here. I found this to be the easiest technique, but some people prefer a spray bottle. To make the water from the waterfall, I'm using water effects from Woodland Scenics. I'm going to apply them on a piece of parchment paper, and I'm going to try to create that ripple effect using a brush and a few zigzaggy strokes. This will dry out in about a day, and the parchment paper really helps it not stick to whatever you're placing it on. I've attempted two techniques. The one on the left works really well. The one on the right, I was hoping to be able to use a bit of realistic water, also from Hoordoo Scenics, but unfortunately it turned out pretty disastrous, so only focus on the left side. Once the water is dry, we can remove it from the parchment paper and attach it to the diorama. I want to get that nice curved effect of the water falling from the waterfall. I don't want it to fall really straight. And for that, I'm using a little piece of plastic here. I found that that allows me to get a nice curve without making it too visible. Using a hot glue gun, I'm attaching the little piece of plastic and the falling water to the rest of the river. To blend everything together, I'm using water effects, the same ones that I used to make the waterfall. I'm just applying it with paintbrush on top of the river and the place where the waterfall and the river meet. Water effects can be used for gluing the bottom part of the waterfall to the river, and also you can apply a bit of it on the falling water to give it a bit more volume. To create some of the foam at the bottom and the top of the waterfall, I'm mixing a bit of snow flakes from Woodland Scenics with Mod Podge, the clear version, and I'm going to apply that at the top and the bottom of the waterfall. Water Effects is a great product for creating ripples and water that is not flat, but it's kind of an inexpensive product. So for those places where I want to create ripples but I don't care that much about how they look, I'm going to use clear Mod Podge, I think it's called Glossy, and just applying it with a paintbrush and then tweaking it a bit with my airbrush. If you look at a real waterfall, you're gonna notice that the ripples usually are concentric from the place where the waterfall hits the river, so I'm trying to replicate that effect here. Once everything dried, I was not very happy with the volume of the waterfall, so I've applied a bit more Mod Podge to create that thicker water. Similarly, at the top of the waterfall, I was not happy with the ripples, so I've used a bit of Water Effects to create those larger ripples as you get closer to the brink of the waterfall. At this point I was happy with how everything looks like, and it's time for the final touches. On top of the grass I'm going to put some flowers. I have this powdery yellow thing, and that's gonna represent flowers, and then I'm using some Woodland Scenics bushes to give a bit more details. The cliff face is not perfectly flat and doesn't have just rocks. Sometimes things grow on it, so I want to represent that using some of those bushes. I'm going to randomly place a few bushes around. Finally, I was not happy with the amount of foam at the bottom of the waterfall, so I've decided to use some cotton to create that large amount of foam. With everything completed, there's one step left, covering those sides that we've ignored so far. I'm going to cover most of it in brown, and then I'm going to fix the sides of the water. Remember, for covering large surfaces, it's usually good to use some cheap paint. Don't use your best paint for this because it's really expensive. Because of the sanding, the resin doesn't look clear anymore on the sides, but there's an easy fix to that. Just use a bit of resin, or in this case some realistic water from Hoordoo Scenics, and apply it with a brush lightly on the sides. That will redo the shyness and the water will look very clear. Doing a bit of dry brushing on the water helps create those ripple effects and makes it look like the foam is spreading away from the waterfall. Alright, it took about 11 hours to build this model, 11 hours of actual recording. Probably took me 2 weeks because there was a lot of waiting for different pieces to dry, but here it is. The Goblin cave with the waterfall is here. Funny story, I built this model because I made a previous waterfall before, and someone on Reddit said that you cannot have a waterfall without a secret place behind it. Therefore, here it is, a cave behind the waterfall, and yeah, it was kind of fun to build this. I think my most favorite part is still rock painting, and then my least one is resin pouring. Overall, it was a very fun model to build, and I can't wait to use it in some games. If you have any feedback, or you would like to learn more about any particular part of this process, let me know, and I'm more than happy to create future video tutorials focusing on specific aspects of this build. Now I think it would be cool to see how it looks like in the real world with some miniatures on it. I've placed a few minifigures, most of them are 28mm here. Put a little dock on the water to make it look a bit more interesting, you know, there could be a little fight there at the entrance. And this piece is called the Goblin cave, so I had to put a few goblins inside. And you can see there, I'm trying to shine a light here, that there are some goblins. They are protecting a few crates in the cave. They're having a fire there, maybe, I don't know what the goblins did. They have a barbecue? And yeah, you can see how cool it looks, especially if I shine the light from the back. That barbarian will look like it's entering the cave. If you are interested in supporting this channel, or if you want to learn more, please head out to hoordooscenics.com. And if you find those barrels and crates interesting, I'm actually selling them on my Etsy store. Again, available from, if you go on hoordooscenics.com, you will be able to go to the Etsy store. With that, I hope you stay safe, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care.